Hello to all you Pidgeys, Pidgeotos, and Pidgeots, and welcome to the Footy Mailbag. I'm Clarky.
And I'm Damo.
Damo, let's get to the questions for round 3. That's right, all you listeners out there. Round 2 is in the books, and I hope Best 18 saved you because it didn't help me at all. But we've got bigger news to talk about because this week was the first mailbag host-off. Damo, you got to tell your boy Patrick Voss to stop touching Harry Petty's bald spot.
Hey, high free kick now. If it happens again, high free kick.
It's very funny that out of all of this, the biggest I think people are missing the point. Like, I like Patrick Voss. I think he's a bit of a dumb, and, you know, taunting, sure, whatever. Like, whether he should or shouldn't have been doing it is kind of beside the point, because the one thing that this whole incident proves is that Harrison Petty is the most protected man in the AFL. People talk about the Dacos bias. People talk about the Collingwood bias. People talk about all these kickbacks. Ross Lyons talking about the Gold Coast Nepo babies. But really, all along, Harrison Petty is the most protected man in the AFL.
Oh, look, I don't love the head rub. I think it's an odd thing to do. I get the meaning behind it. I don't love it. I don't love the crying gesture either that Patrick Voss did to Harry Petty. I think that's a bit over with now. I think he sort of brought it back from the dead, and it really wasn't needed. But for him to get fined and the MRO to cite a part of the MRO guidelines that has been in since I think 2023, but might have been a year after that. But this is the first time we've seen a player fined under the misconduct clause, and if the AFL is going to go down the path of penalising taunting, then it's going to be a slippery slope if they don't make the guidelines clear as day. Because I've seen the NFL taunting penalties in the NFL, and because the penalties acted on the day, you can literally have two players have the same celebration on a football Sunday, and one gets penalised while the other doesn't. So I think the AFL needs to come out like they've done with the head rub and say what is and isn't acceptable straight off the bat if we are going to go down a taunting penalties route. Yeah,
I don't particularly understand why this one was the line. I definitely think that I didn't love it, but I was like, okay, cool. Like the little ruffle of the hair or whatever, like it was kind of nothing in a vacuum. But then my stance has been, well, he went back to the well. Harrison Petty bats him away, and then he goes back to touch him again. Probably don't do that. That's when, like, if somebody goes, like, don't touch me, like, okay, cool. Like, you know, I respect, like, you got to respect someone's boundaries in that sense. Like, you've already razzled them up enough. And then the crying gesture. I don't know which part of it was the unsportsmanlike bit. Was it the crying gesture or was it the touching? Because it seems to be focused on the touching, right?
They haven't been clear. The only thing they have been clear about is they don't want these actions to drip down into the lower leagues, the junior leagues, and for kids to do it in their games. So
I 100% agree with that.
It could be everything from picking up an opposition player and carrying them across the boundary to
that was
rubbing
funny
someone's
because
head.
Both parties were consenting.
Or the crying gesture.
Yeah, when Voss picked up Ed Langdon and they both just kind of laughed about it afterwards, consenting. Two consenting adults going, that was a dumb thing to do. Anyway, back to football. I don't know, this is probably going to divide people. I agree that we shouldn't be encouraging it at lower levels, but I also think that people at the highest level and at the lower levels are saying and doing much worse shit on a football field already. And that's a really sad thing to have to say, that, you know, there are a lot of football clubs out there that are inherently toxic in both the masculinity and their inclusiveness.
I think the bit that annoyed me the most was in that round even, Patrick Voss wasn't the first player to do a head rub. And he certainly wasn't the first player to use the crying gesture towards Harry Petty. I get the crying gesture is probably gone now. It's probably been 2 years since we've even seen it, and I don't understand why he had to bring it back, and I don't appreciate Patrick Voss doing it. I think if he can tone down 10% and remove that sort of stuff is great. But the head rub part, I don't understand why that was the line and why he was the one that crossed it, where I don't think he was the only player in the round to have done it.
Yeah, I get it. Like, here's the thing, right? It was cheeky. Whether or not I loved it is, I would have felt differently, I feel like, if I was a neutral supporter. And I'm fully aware of my bias in that. I probably would have just gone like, that's a bit cheeky. But you know who didn't get fined and probably should have?
Go on.
Ben Keys.
Yeah,
Ben Keys for the time wasting in the Adelaide and Bulldogs game, where listeners, if you're living under a football rock, the ball went into the crowd grabs it. Ben Keys clocks that it's an Adelaide Crows fan, and he's like, hold it. So essentially time wasting, right? Like,
but I think Ben Keys was also arguing that the ball was he trying to argue that it wasn't an Adelaide Crows that had the last disposal? Was that part of it, or was he just trying to waste time? Because it wasn't in Ben Keys.
He was trying to waste time.
Yeah, but it wasn't in Ben Keys' interest to waste time because the Crows were behind at that point.
It was in their time to get set up it was in their interest to get set up defensively.
Okay,
The run of play was going
I would have thought
for the Bulldogs.
I would have thought that the time would have been more valuable than the defensive setup, but that's just me.
Like, regardless of what we think, the reality is that he was telling the crowd member to hold it, right? Like, cheeky, yes. Funny, yes. Probably should have been fined, though, because that could have actually affected the outcome, because the clock doesn't stop, because it wasn't a throw-in or a stoppage. It was a free kick given for last touch out of bounds. So I would have thought that would fall under the time wasting sort of penalty area. Ben Keys was only issued with a don't do that again. Probably should have been fined. Anyway, besides all that, Damo, what's caught your eye this week? Should we talk about Supercoach?
We can talk about Supercoach. I mean, it's not a great game at the moment. Or should we talk about that a little bit? We've been struck by all these injuries that it's kind of making the game not as a recreational activity as we would like it to be.
I find it very stressful to play Supercoach. I play both. I play like 3 different versions of this format. So I have a Keeper League on the Keeper platform. I obviously play Supercoach, a bunch of draft leagues, and I also play AFL Fantasy. Some of them are definitely more enjoyable than others in this massive amount of carnage, and it isn't the limited trade format, if you catch my meaning.
Yeah. But yeah, what caught my eye was I haven't nailed a captain this season yet.
Really?
In round 1, I went for Butters, and he got tagged by Finn O'Sullivan. Finn O'Sullivan's a tagger, by the way. Did you know? And
Not before that game.
And then round 2, I went for Christian Petrarca, and then he got injured. So my captain I might just not have a captain this round. I might just make sure my vice captain does well.
You should just do that every week, Damo.
Well, the last 2 weeks I haven't. Well, round 1 I didn't have a loop, and last round Tim English was my vice captain and scored 114, which doesn't usually hit the vice captaincy threshold for me, especially in the early rounds. But maybe I should just take anything 110 plus this week.
If you want to hear something absolutely tragic, I know of a certain someone who had the VC on Bont and forgot to loophole and ended up with Christian Petrarca.
Oh. Hey, at least they had Bont.
I feel like in that situation, contextually, that would be very upsetting if it was me. You know what caught my eye? Maybe Supercoach isn't for me this week or any week. I feel like every guy that I brought in last week was just like, you know what? They seem like on paper, like everything seems to be going this way. Wayne Miller and Caleb Sarong to replace Archie Roberts and the injured Errol Goulden. Caleb Sarong was tagged by Colton Tholstrup, which, Great job, Melbourne, for tagging Caleb Serong and then letting Andy Brayshaw get like 40 million disposals and 3 goals. Great job. Really, really felt good to watch that. Really felt good to watch that. And Wayne Miller had the exact same role that he had the weeks before, but was getting absolutely torched by his teammates in Worrell and Laird. But it wasn't a particularly favourable game for halfbacks in that match either. Hoping that changes this week. If not, my team will just be perpetually in crisis mode.
It always feels like you'll bring someone in on good form and then suddenly they have a shit game as soon as they enter your team. But I think Wayne Miller will be okay. I think Caleb Serong will be okay. It was just a bad first up week for your team.
Was the demo. Didn't feel that way.
Feeling positive for you.
For the record, Archie Roberts scored 102 to add insult to injury.
I'm feeling positive for your team, Clarkie.
Yes, well, I have zigged when everybody's zagging this week once again because I'm taking the approach that I'm going to make this game fun by picking the guys that my gut tells me instead of focusing on following the crowd. Unless obviously that crowd move is incredibly sensible, but if it's a line ball, I'm going to trust my instincts a little bit more because it's already leading me so well. It worked for Jack Sinclair, but didn't work for Wayne Miller. Has worked a little bit for LDU, but hasn't quite worked for Darcy Parish, right? Like it's ebbs and flows, Damo. Ebbs and flows. Should we get into the injury news? We've got 8 or 9 hamstring injuries alone this week, not including a relevant ankle injury on top of that.
And a relevant calf injury as well.
So obviously we've spoken about Christian Petrarca out for 4 to 6 weeks with a hamstring injury.
Yeah, Gold Coast have said medium term, which the media sort of surmised as 4 to 6.
I would say that's medium. Then we have Connor Rosie he's torn his hamstring off the bone, so he is out for months. Possibly most of the season.
I would be very surprised if he's back this season. It's such an awful injury. It's a 3 to 4 month recovery where most of it you can't really run. He's going to be a long way back. He's going to need some really solid conditioning block. I would be surprised if he is back this season.
Yeah, the other one that is classic relevant is Milan Murdoch, really popular trade in this week, 99k rookie for West Coast, has been playing fantastically for us so far this year, but it was confirmed yesterday, that's Tuesday for those of you who aren't in the room with us, that he also has a hamstring injury and will be out for the short to medium term, so that's anywhere from about 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, and I think if you traded him in early or if you started him, don't trade him out. He will come back. He was one of the most exciting things about the West Coast team. Just hold on to him. He will be back as soon as he's ready to come back. Obviously, coming this is probably a fairly new injury for him. So West Coast are going to manage him through it and sort of learn a bit about him and his recovery processes, and then we'll see him back on the park pretty soon. So if you already have him because you went early or you started him, just hold on to him because he's going to be one less trade you need to do down the track when he's back in the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. Couple of mostly draft relevant if you have been looking at these guys.
One more injury that two more injuries that we just need to quickly touch on. Rory Laird is out with a calf and Jordan Dawson is out with a calf as well.
I was going to call them draft relevant.
There are some people that have Jordan Dawson and Rory. Actually, I know a certain Lek dog that has a Rory Laird in his team.
Wrong dog is what I call him. No, I actually call him Handsome Dog because I love that man. So yeah, medium-term injuries for both of them. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're back soon. Dyson Sharp is out with an ankle injury on top of that. Could be anywhere from 2 to 4. Yeah.
I don't think, just going back to the Laird injury or the Dawson injury, I don't think they're going to be out for that long. I just think the 5-day break made it difficult for them to get up for this week. But then Dyson Sharp with the ankle, he kind of didn't look up to the pace anyway. So he probably would have been a correction regardless of injured or not. now you at least have a good reason to get rid of him.
Exactly. Mason Redman will be sidelined for a reasonable period of time, hopefully opening the door for maybe like a Jacob Farrow.
Yeah, Jacob
Hopefully.
Farrow or a Sardell Hooley to come back in.
Sardell Hooley.
But that doesn't help Supercoach people.
Watch that space. We've got Tom Lynch also with a hamstring injury, draft relevant if you have him. Hold him or dump him, take a choice. If you've got a big bench, I'd probably hold him. If you don't have a big bench, I'd probably drop him. Toby Nankervis for all you big draft leagues where there's no rucks in the free agency pool, like one of the ones I'm in where I have Toby Nankervis. Good luck to you. He's out for a medium term as well. On top of that, Callum Archie, I don't know if he's relevant in any capacity, but he is
I think I have Callum Archie in a draft league.
There you go. He is also out. Have I missed anything, Damo? Is there any more injuries that I could possibly report on?
Look,
Turner, Disco Turner, is out for a couple of weeks with a hand fracture, but potentially opens the door for Xavier Taylor. Watch the team lists, but I probably wouldn't go early on that one. But if you're looking for a free agent, possibly Tom McDonald might step in, and he is an okay guy who can score you like 50 to 70 points on a good day.
And Patrick Dangerfield out again with another calf injury.
Yeah, classic case of being old.
Dan Annable, top draftee from Brisbane, out for 4 months with a shoulder reconstruction. And Hugh McCluggage will not return this week. He is a little ways off still with his own calf injury. So just some little ones to add to the end there.
That's it. Oh my gosh. Is that? Hopefully that's everything. Let's talk about mid prices.
Yep.
Do you think that your mid prices are doing the job so far this year, Damo?
I think the popular ones are. I think people are expecting too much from the mid prices, I think is the issue.
Now, when you say mid prices, who is the first one that comes to mind that you think is being overestimated for what they are?
Connor Buderick. I think people, when people saw the 105 in round 0, they expected him to kind of score that most weeks. Whereas at 235k or thereabouts, him scoring 60s and 70s is probably about right for him in his role. He will have some spike games that keeps his price rising, but he's probably a guy that we're going to cash out at when he gets to about 370 to 400k, and we're going to be fairly happy with that. I think once people saw the 105, they traded in a guy and thought they're going to get 105s every week. No, that was just one of those lovely spike scores that we're going to get once in a while to keep his cash gen moving.
Yeah, I think I'm probably in the same boat with Buderick, where I will ride him until the break even is no longer sustainable, and then I'll flip him to the nearest jumping off point. I'd probably say Parrish and Young have been ones where we can't really say that they are firing or not firing. Darcy Parrish scored a 67 this week off 24 disposals at 66% disposal efficiency, which is, you see, I call it the Clayton Oliver problem because I think of it where it's a good amount of accumulation, but because you didn't use it well, you got no points. Ain't got no points for it.
Disposal efficiency is massive with the new rules.
Yeah, it's absolutely killing him on that front. I think at this point as well, if you're holding Hayden Young, continue to ride that. If not, Darcy Parrish is probably someone for me. I think I'll be looking to flip into Hayden Young when he is back because Hayden Young had a much more friendly role and is much better at using the ball. We got other mid-prices like we've already spoken about a little bit. I have Wayne Miller who has the role but not really getting that. Is he firing? I guess. Maybe, not so much. I'd like to say guys like Jaden Short I would class as mid-price at 450, Damo, would you?
Oh, look, I
Just
think
above mid-price, really.
I think the mid-price to premium sort of, I think when it gets into the 450 and above, it's a bit subjective to what you're expecting out of the player for the season. Like, for example, Josh Worrell, 487k, never really been a premium before. So you'd probably consider him a mid-pricer, even though he is very good at the moment and is stepping into a premium sort of, situation.
Yeah, and I'm looking at just a list here of other players who are around that sort of bracket where A lot of them very good draft relevance, but I'm not sure how much we should be looking for them at Classic. Are you happy with how Sam Flanders has been going this year?
I called it in the preseason. I thought we were going to get trapped by him. Ross Lyon would put him in no man's land, and I do feel that we have been a little bit misled by his role. But in fairness to St Kilda, they haven't really hit their stride yet.
Or ever, really.
Yeah, but there are points in the season where you go, this is the best version of St Kilda, and we haven't seen that yet. I think Flanders will settle in okay. As a forward, I mean, the forward line isn't looking great regardless. So Rosie, you know, I mean, like I mentioned Rosie for some reason. I don't know why. Flanders, I think he will still end up being a top forward. I just think we need to temper our expectations a bit with what he could average by the end of the season.
Yeah, I think the important thing for us all to have, especially in the limited trade format, is an understanding of what we're expecting. Cross-check that with reality of what they're actually capable of producing, and then adjust your expectations accordingly and have a plan to jump out. I'm currently holding enough cash where if any of my mid prices start to horrendously fail, I can jump straight to somebody else or hopefully an underpriced premium to do that job. And I think it's important, listeners, that you make sure you give yourself that assurance that you have an out so that you're not stuck with a guy in perpetuity. However, your focus really in this early part of the season is cash generation. So these mid-price guys, check your expectations a little bit. Make sure that you're constantly moving forward. As long as your cash generation is happening, you can always fix this down the line. I guarantee that if you're able to hold that and hold some of these guys through the average scores, by the time you get to the other side of the buy with trades left over and with cash in your pocket, that's when you'll really start to see that rank rise. We've got a weather watch here, Damo.
Yes.
We need a weather watch bulletin number. Cyclone Narelle possibly going to end up postponing the Fremantle and Richmond game that's happening over at Optus Stadium this Friday?
This Saturday afternoon, yeah. Moving down the coast. They're not sure if it's going to move inland or out to sea when it reaches the southwest, but it's regardless. If the game goes ahead, it's going to be a wet and windy game and probably low crowd, all that sort of thing. If it does get postponed, no idea when it's going to get played.
Yeah, there's absolutely nowhere for them to play it. It's the AFL is a shocking organisation, Damo.
I mean, the AFL doesn't seem too concerned. They're watching it and are alerted by it, but they're not worried just yet. And I think if the game does get postponed, it will be it will literally be a late Friday decision, meaning that Richmond could literally be in the air once the AFL makes their decision.
Yeah, so that's a little bit concerning.
Yes.
It is very, very concerning. Damo, it's time to run to my new segment that's currently replacing The Spark, which is due to return probably about round 5. Once I've got some more data to clunk around a few thoughts that are rattling inside, the sound that a spray can makes when you shake it, Damo? That's what happens. That's what it sounds like when my brain is moving and clunking around in my little head.
Excellent.
Trying to figure out
what colour are you spraying this week?
I'm going to go with a moss green.
Excellent.
Because I'm sick of it, Damo. I'm bloody sick of it.
I do like a green. I do like a good shade of green. Grievance and gratitudes. Just give us a rundown of what the segment is for.
Hey, I'm encouraging you listeners to write into us and tell us something good that's happened in your Supercoach week. And if you've had something that's happened in your week that's kind of nutted you off, send us your grievance. Who didn't fire for you? Are you pissed off that Ed Richards only scored a 92? Write into us. Try not to be too derogatory, too slanderous, but we will take appropriately expressed grievances. For legal reasons, I won't be upheld to anything that is particularly slanderous or offensive. But we want people to send them in. We want to celebrate the good things that are happening in your Supercoach teams and the bad things that are happening in your Supercoach teams. I'm going to start. My gratitude this week is I managed to get a decent captain. I got the second highest score on my team in Harry Sheasel. Popped him on, the third highest score technically, because Grundy and Butters both scored 135. Got a good captain this week. I'm pretty grateful for that. That really helped me sort of stay in touch a little bit. And if I had grievances, it would be the AFL and their buyers. You completely ruined the season. You've ruined Supercoach. Shame on you. Shame on you, Andrew Dillon.
Nice.
What about you, Damien? You got a grievance or gratitude for this week?
Look, my gratitude is, I think I was thinking ahead without knowing what was ahead. By dropping Hayden Young to a rookie, I was able to easily fix up my Petrarca, my Rosie, and also dump a failed mid-pricer in Lockie Blackiston. So I was able to fix my team out of all of the injury chaos, which is a nice little win. And my grievance is, yes, you're right. I am annoyed by Ed Richards only scoring a 92 because he was on like 65 at halftime.
Yeah, that was crazy, right? Like, it was really upsetting to be like, okay, cool, I'm on track here for something half decent, and then he scored 30 points thereabouts. Not even 30 points.
Yeah,
between halftime and the end of the game. Just
he actually like to the eye. I don't check live Supercoach scores anymore. I used to, but now I don't because there is a lot of scaling that happens towards the end of the last quarters. That means you don't really get the full picture until the end of the game. But anyway, my point is, I looked at halftime because someone said he was in for a good game, so I was like, all right, I'll have a look at halftime. And then he did not score like he was in the first two quarters. So, but to the eye, he looked like he was having a good game.
Absolutely. Discussing now, Damo, I understand that we have a voice memo from a faithful listener who is here to present a grievance or gratitude. I believe it's a gratitude. Is what
I think it's a gratitude, yes. But here is Benji.
Hey guys, Benji here again. Another shocking week in Supercoach, but that's all good because I'm here for some gratitude. Firstly, I'm grateful for the Fremantle Dockers. Sorry, Clarkie, in the
damn it, Benji,
the Mailbag Derby, but I'm also a Dockers supporter, so
hey,
grateful for them. I'm also grateful in my life that.
Hang on, can we just pause it there? I did not know he was a Freo supporter.
Well, you do now, and you've both ganged up on me. I've been catfished. I'm surrounded by snakes.
Clarkie, you know we love you, okay?
Surrounded by snakes, all of my co-hosts and listeners are Freo supporters.
But Benji, I already liked you, and now I like you even more.
I'm lucky enough to be a primary school teacher, and I had my year 5-6 assembly, first assembly, of the year. Not my first one, of course, but we're the first group in, and they absolutely nailed it. I had so many parents come up and say that's the funnest thing they've seen at an assembly. And, it's just really great to kind of, get that pat on the back from the parents, from, all of that outside noise. I'm at a new school this year. So, yeah, really good first step forwards, I guess. Something else that I'm grateful for is the friends and the family. This is really a sob story, but, the friends and the family that I've made along the journey of my life. Grateful for my dog, Maverick. He's the cutest little miniature poodle. So I'm really grateful for him. He's always, after a long day, it's nice to go out, clear the head with a walk. It's fantastic. And I'm grateful for you boys for turning up every week and, tuning ourselves into your beautiful voices. It really makes my day. So it's just some things I'm grateful for. So, you're welcome, Clarkie. Have a good week, everyone. Good week, everyone.
That's very sweet. Thank you for sharing with us, Benji. And of course, we hear big dog fan, big dog podcast. Not the Western Bulldogs, but just regular dogs. A big fan.
Yeah. We love dogs here. Miniature poodle sounds like a lovely little dog.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing sharing that with us, Benji. God, I am tired. It's been a long day. We appreciate that. But listeners, don't forget you can send us your grievance of gratitude at any point during the round. I assume you'll have to take it all in at the end to really assess what you're grateful for. But hey, let's try and do a new thing. Let's do it. But Damo, we need to get to the meat of these potatoes. the listener questions. Now, remember, listeners, you can submit your questions before roughly 8 o'clock Melbourne time on a Wednesday to be included in that episode. But hey, we do check it coming into this, but just no guarantees we'll get it in. You can also send us voice memos like the beautiful Benji has sent us if you want to ask your question using your beautiful, beautiful, wonderful voice. First one comes in from Michael. Michael says, what do we do with Sharp, Rosie, and Track? Trade.
You trade them.
You trade him, Michael. Mickey, you go and you find the best thing that you can get. I'm looking at it now. Now that the Cyclone has threatened, I'll pull back what I'm doing this week. I was going to bring in Jaden Short. Big fan. I've kind of spoken about him today already. Pretty hot on him. Love his role. Love his consistency. But the Cyclone kind of scares me a little bit because I need some points this week, Damo. I need the points this week. I need them now. I'm itching for them. Worries me that the game might be cancelled because that would absolutely ruin my entire week. What are you doing so far with Sharp, Rosie, and Track?
I'm holding Sharp for a week because there are some rookies on the bubble next week. But Rosie and Petraka have become Max Holmes and Josh Dacos.
Very, very good. Well, why Joshy D?
I don't know. Now I've got both of them. Double Dacos in my team.
Ooh, all right. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Double Ds for Damo. Speaking of double Ds, we've got a question here from DDG, who has asked, can you request the Supercoach gods for leniency and to get them to give us 5 trades this week to fix our teams? I did ask DD, but no dice.
Yeah, and unfortunately they've blocked my number.
Yeah, that's it. Now, DDG has also asked, which player in each line is each of your primo of choice? That's a fun question. Damo, you want to start with the forward line? Let's have a look at the forward line. Who is your premium of choice in the forward line?
Can it be anyone else other than Harry Sheezel?
I mean, are we talking about players who you have not selected or that you are planning to select? Sheezel is the obvious answer. If
it's someone that you have that you're looking to trade in or potentially looking at down the line to trade in, keep an eye on Justin McInerney. I don't mind the look of him as an option, but obviously Sydney's on a bye this week, so don't trade him in this week.
I've got a couple of fun ones that I want to throw out here. No guarantee that some of them will turn primo, but definitely some guarantees that these guys are bona fide stars in their own right. The first one is Jezza Cameron. Got my eye on him. Absolutely love him. The second one is Murph Henry Reid. I think there's some juice there, Damo. There might be a little bit of juice there, 370. I just want to talk about the consistency of Dev Robinson. He's currently averaging 100. He's 119k. Obviously, we've all probably got him already. He's got a break-even of minus 131. He's scoring like a premium. Like, he is the guy right now.
He's going to double in price this week.
Absolute insanity.
Is that the projection?
Please hold, and I can tell you he's projected to increase to 77k.
Yeah, but that's on a projected score of 42.
Yeah, so you do the math. I'm not doing it.
So he probably is going to double in price this week if you don't grab him.
Yeah. Other guys, I'm kind of like, I'm not neither here nor there on, but could be anything. I'm a big fan of Harvey Thomas. I don't know if he'll become a premium, but he's been scoring pretty well in that Giants group. Max Hall has had a very interesting role going forward. The forward line is a really tough one. So I'm going to move over to the ruck line and talk about Max Gawn supremacy. Once again, I'm on my soapbox here talking about how Max Gawn is the greatest ruck to ever exist in the history of AFL and Supercoach. He scores from every avenue. Another score this week of 141 against a double ruck duo of Jackson and Darcy.
Yeah, it's more like a 1.5.
More than like 1.5, says Damo, in a match where his team won by 42 points. I don't think Max Gawn can really do any wrong in my eyes for that much. I know Tristan Cherry scored 199 this week, but talk about consistency. Max Gawn currently has a round average of 131. Cherry's is inflated by that 199 to a 163 from 2 games. So, yeah, it's interesting. I think Max Gawn is probably my pick. I really like him just for his consistency and ability to score in other ways other than just the rucking. What about you, Damo?
I like Tim English as a safe option.
Safe option. We love that. keep an eye out, unrelated to Primos, but Kingy was talking about bringing in Max Heath, possibly, to ruck share with Gawn and give him a bit of a rest, help manage him a little bit. So I know after I've just said that he is the greatest thing to ever exist, to then talk about the reasons why he might not end up scoring as well. But definitely something to consider as well. Could be helpful for us in rookie terms as well. We'll jump over to the mids. Damo, who's your premium of choice of the mids currently?
Look, I don't know if he's my premium of choice, but I am bringing in Max Holmes this week as my Christian Petrarca replacement.
My boy.
Yes, I do love the look of Holmes. Holmes on the range.
That's where the letters go, Damo. The mailbag range.
Yeah. He's only he's in less than 3% of teams as well. So a bit of a pod and currently top 5 in the midfield for average.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes complete sense to me. I am going to go ahead and add in another name who I think we haven't really thought about him too much, but Marcus Bontempelli has got to be the greatest mid selection of all time. Don't know if you've ever heard of him, Damo. He might be flying under the radar just a little bit.
What was his name? Marcus
B-O-N.
Marcus.
Yeah, Michael Bontempelli. No, I think, yeah, Bont is probably my pick of choice, but I think as well people are underestimating both Jack Steele and Andrew Brayshaw just from a couple of average scores, but they have really nice roles going forward. So 2 people to think about on, and we'll round it out with the defenders. Damo, who's your defender primo of choice?
Oh, look, I've got 2 that I'm keeping my eye on. Obviously, Jack Sinclair has had a great start to the season.
In 41% of teams, apparently. I didn't realize that.
In 41% of teams as well. And I was considering him as a Rosie replacement until I'd realized I didn't want someone who still had an early buy coming up. The other guy that's on my radar is Callum Wilkie.
Okay, yeah.
He was about 500k to start the season, and he's averaging 115 to start this season. So he can clearly have a consistent sort of year. And he's yet to see any time on the bench either. So extremely fit.
Excellent. My choice goes to Lockie Ash, who I think has kind of cemented himself as the guy for the GWS defensive line at the moment. 3 scores. They've still got their bye to come, which is a little bit concerning if your structure doesn't support that, but a score of 69 in opening round, which wasn't great, but then followed up by a 136 against the Bulldogs at Marvel and a 130 against St Kilda at NG. They've got Collingwood at Marvel, Richmond in Barossa after their bye in round 4, and then Sydney at the SCG. So, look, he's a very good user of the ball. I think really helps him, and he is able to accumulate massive amounts of points. So he's got a nice little ceiling on him. That just something to consider. I hope that helps you, DDG. Those are our pick of primos in each line. Hopefully we pick guys that you don't have to give you something to think about. Damo Troy has asked us, with the majority trading Rosie, Track and Sharp, would you go for 2 premiums and a rookie as a replacement? Or 1 premium and 2 rookies? In his example, the rookies are Braden Cook and Jack Watkins. Is it Jack?
I think it's Jack.
Right, yeah. It's Jack Watkins.
Yep.
Because I got confused because I thought someone said Jack Watson. I was like, oh my God, is it 2007 already? Or 2011?
Whenever
he was drafted. I should know. I should probably know that as a Melbourne fan. I am opting, Troy, for 2 premiums and a rookie. If you're replacing Rosie and Petrarca, you need a guy who either has a nice safe high floor, or someone with ceiling capacity. You don't really want to hamstring yourself by lowering your overall scoring ability, I think.
Yeah, don't hamstring yourself. We've had too many of those this year. This year
Not
already.
a 10th hamstring, Troy.
Early focus in building teams should be both on cash generation and also points generation. Obviously, later in the year, it moves more to points generation than cash generation, but early in the season, you kind of want both to be really helpful and really healthy at the same time, I should probably say. So replacing 2 premiums and a rookie with 2 premiums and a rookie makes the most sense. But if you do go for 2 rookies like Cook and Watkins, that cash that you bank from bringing one of your premiums down, you need to be really careful what you do with that cash in your bank and don't just spend it for the sake of spending it. I was lucky enough this week that I was able to use the money that I went from Hayden Young down to Braden Cook to turn one of my failed mid-prices, Lockie Blackiston, up to a Josh Worrell. So I was quite happy with that. I was really good. I thought using that money that way was smart. But I've seen some people just going, hey, I have this money to spend, so I'm going to bring in this guy who's just scored 140 on the weekend, but has a season average of 88. It doesn't quite match. It doesn't quite make sense to me for people to spend money just because they have it. So if you do go for 2 rookies in Cook and Watkins, who are going to make a lot of cash over the next few weeks, just make sure the money in your bank isn't spent just because you have it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Make sure that you, as well, I would probably just to add on to that, make sure you're picking a person or player that you are relatively confident in and feel comfortable replacing with those guys, just to jump onto your talk about, I wouldn't call it point chasing, Damo, but it's sort of inflated averages are really dangerous this part of the year because we've only had 2 or 3 games played. So a player can have quite a high average if you're choosing to sort by that just from having one really big game.
I just wanted to inform you that conflated works in this scenario.
Conflated works? Okay, cool. Yeah. Conflating and inflating my vocabulary at the same time. So I think go 1 for 1 to keep your team structure. If you miss a rookie, you miss a rookie and you just have to deal with it, right? But you've still got the points on field for the long term. Tim has written in and says, hey guys, what do you reckon for this week? Bring in Sherry or Gawn via DPP into the flex, but miss out on Bruin and Watkins for cash gen. Or bring in one of Bruin and Watkins and sit on a big nest egg for the next few weeks of upgrades. This is a tough one.
Pretty much the same as what I said to Troy. Cherry or Gawn, great acquisitions. If you have the money, I don't think you can go wrong with either of them. But missing out on cash generation through Bruin and Watkins, especially when Bruin might actually end up being a keeper the way he's playing, you gotta look at with your team. Do you have the healthy cash gen, or do you need to sacrifice and go for a Bruin or a Watkins and sit on the big nest egg? But same advice I gave to Troy, big nest egg, don't just spend it because you have it. Use it wisely because you don't know what's going to happen around the bend.
Yeah, and it's really hard. Obviously, Tim, I think my advice would differ depending on if you if you're playing for rank overall or if you're playing for leagues. I think in leagues, obviously having that edge on a week to week can really affect your seasons. But if you're playing for overall, I think it makes more sense to have a nest egg and pick a guy that you're confident in and continuing your team's economy. So take those for whatever works for your scenario. If you need the points to win your matchups early, bring in a guy that you're confident with and deal with the cash flow as you can. If you're playing for overall, I think building an economic safety net is probably the way to go. But I think you and I are quite risk averse, I think, on this podcast. I act like I'm not risk averse, but I get massive. I end up making really poor decisions on a whim rather than taking my own advice.
I mean, I've traded in a guy this week who hasn't really trained and then was named at the last minute after a last minute fitness test. So
hell yeah.
So I'm fairly happy to take a risk, but that's mainly because I think Josh Worrell's going to be a top 6 to 8 defender the way he's playing.
Yeah. And I'm picking a guy who's going to play in a Cyclone, so we'll see how that works out for me. Damo, I got one here from Loke, who is a member of I got this one from the Iron Tom Dom Discord. So Iron Tom is obviously Tom Zahariu from The Footy with Broden Kelly and Auntie Donna producer fame. He has a beautiful Discord filled with lovely people and a great community who love talking about footy and a lot of great super coaches in there. So this one comes hot off those presses, and they are asking, Sherry or Jackson for Christian Petrarca in the flex? He's asked for as much detail as we can provide, Damo. I think we already know the upside of Sherry, really, but Sherry versus Jackson for a flex option, what do you think of that matchup?
If he has the money for Cherry, I think Cherry's the obvious one, especially with who he's got coming up, especially with who Cherry's coming up against the next few weeks. But in saying that, Luke Jackson's ability to score as a ruckman, as a forward, as a midfielder, as a winger, as an intercept defender, like the way that they use him, he doesn't have to be good in one position to score his points. He can be good in another position to score points. But I'm just bringing up Cherry's profile now, and he's got Lockie Blackiston this week, Mark Pitney the week after, Sam Draper, Darcy Fort, whoever the week after that, and then whoever Richmond have, because it's not going to be Nankervis. Whoever the Giants have.
Samson Ryan? Does he still play for Richmond?
Ollie Hayes-Brown, ex-Perth Wildcat, maybe? Who knows? GWS have Kieran Briggs. Geelong have the Milky Bar kid, Mitch Edwards. And then it's not until round 9 that he comes up against another, real top-end ruckman in Brodie Grundy. But then after that, he's got Lockie McAndrew at Adelaide, who even knows if he's still there. He started well. I think Lockie McAndrew should be there, but we just don't know what Adelaide's going to be like and what Matthew Nicks is going to have done with that team by that point. So I think Cherry has a really good run coming up over the next 6 to 8 weeks where you just want to get in on all that points flow.
I have no notes for that. I agree. I think Sherry is probably the answer for me if you obviously have the cash and you're not concerned about your cash gen. We're talking a lot about economics this week, Damo. But I think having a premium for a premium makes sense. And like you said, Sherry's got such friendly matchups that feels like that's the best way to go. So I hope that helps, Luke. Harry has asked us, is there a premium midfielder immune from hamstring injuries? I was going to dump Sharp, but now I need replacements for Petrarca and Rosie. Please help. Harry, we can't even help ourselves, and here we are to help you. I don't think there is a midfielder immune from injury.
Look, I don't want to say immune from injury.
You're going to jinx someone, aren't you?
I think that automatically jinxes someone as soon as you bring up another name.
Yeah.
So I'm going to not do that. But I will just say, people have been finding it really hard to move off Petrarca, especially if their flex positions are spoken for with another ruckman or someone from another line. Because in the forward line, there really isn't a lot to sort of look at.
No, it's still kind of shaking out, isn't it? I have found this year that the forward line and the defensive line, in terms of choosing a confident premium selection, is virtually impossible outside of the household name. I actually only think the only premium defender at the moment that I feel confident in is Sinclair. And in terms of the forward line, I only really feel confident in Harry Sheezel.
Yeah,
maybe Dev Robertson, sorry, my new favourite premium.
I mean, like, you've mentioned Jeremy Cameron. He's only played one game and
is about 104.
And he's had no preseason and got to his score off the back of a bag of goals in a close game. Shea Bolton, he scored 142 against the Demons, but 68 the week before. Justin McInerney's on a bye, but it scored 77 against Hawthorn when Hawthorn ran over the top of Sydney. Dev Robertson is the next best average. He's a rookie. You should have him already. And Josh Tracy is averaging 99 after a 125 on the weekend, but a 70-odd against the Cats the week before. And those are the top 8 currently in the forward line. I failed to mention Jack Lukosius, but he's played one game and it was against Essendon, who resemble traffic cones. So
rude.
Hey, it's the truth. I've seen some people really like Max Hall. I've seen some people jump on the likes of Murphy Reid. I've seen some people like the look of Brian Myers. Like Tim Kelly looked okay, but he only played one game, scored 90. It is a difficult position to replace Petrarca in. If you can somehow move someone into your forward line like a Braden Cook, or move someone from your flex into another line to open up a spot to trade in anyone else, that is what I would attempt to do first. If it has to be a forward, though, I'd probably go for someone like a Jeremy Cameron or a Shea Bolton. Even though it's you're not going to get the same caliber of scoring that Christian Petrarca was offering, those guys are currently playing like they will be at the top end by the end of the season.
What's your make of the comments that Shea Bolton is ready to play more time in the midfield? Is there actually space for him to do that?
There is. There definitely is, but it also depends on how they manage Hayden Young and what happens with Hayden Young when he returns.
So buyer beware on that, I reckon. As far as defensive options, yeah, it's kind of like Lockie Ash, like Jack Sinclair. We kind of talked about these guys before. Nick Blakey's on a buy, but is usually like a relatively safe floor. John Noble is fun, but not super great.
Josh Dacos is okay.
Yeah, Josh Dacos is okay, and between him and Dan Houston, the other popular choices for this week, the return of Jeremy Howe and Darcy Moore has me a little bit concerned about just the sharing of the ball across those Collingwood defenders. At least with Josh Dacos, he's kind of getting his numbers as well from being in the mid.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more than, say, a Houston type. I like Tom Stewart. I think he's just a generally safe guy, and around 500k doesn't make him super expensive. So, honestly, a bit take your pick. I'm not going to mention the guy who I'm going to boo.
The only issue with Tom Stewart is we are approaching round 3. This is a roundabout where he gets injured and looks like he's out for 6 weeks and then returns in 2. So just be aware of that if you are trading him in.
Be aware of his hamstrings.
Yes. Or his knee, or his ankle, or his head for concussion purposes.
That's it. Last one comes in from Nebulous Tim. Welcome back, Neb Tim. Hey guys, I managed to cop all of the big injuries so far. Same boss man. Goulden, Young, Rosie, and Petrarca. I held Young but traded Goulden. Initially, I thought about holding Petrarca because I imagine we'll have to bring him back in at some stage as the forward options aren't flash, which is a very good point. A very handsome point, Neb Tim. Already have 2 ruck primos and McAndrew at flex, Nass, Sinclair, and Clark as defensive primos, and Butters, Dacos, Richards as mid premiums. Sheasel is his forward premium. Would love to know your thoughts. Welcome back to Supercoach. Hey, it sounds like your team is really similar to mine.
Sounds really similar to mine as well.
Which is great. That means that we're all in the same boat together, Nebulous Simon. Don't worry, we are here to help you. I understand that we'll probably have to trade in Christian Petrarca, but you have to think of it in the long-term game where even when he comes back, by the time he comes back, Raul's going to be back. We've got whoever else is going to come through that midfield group and however they're going to replace Petrarca for that impact. Maybe the scoring kind of isn't there at the same level, plus he loses a bit of those points from the game where he's gone out injured and scores at 80 odd. So even if we do have to bring him back in, you kind of have the option to buy him at a cheaper price in say a minimum of 4 rounds, like a whole month away. And maybe that's when we should be thinking about that. I agree with you. The forward options are terrible, defensive options are terrible, and we've kind of covered that. So I think what I would be doing and what the situation that I'm in that's similar to yours is making sure I've got all the right rookies, making sure I'm replacing premiums with premiums.
Yeah.
Petrarca and Rosie are going out and bringing in people who I think are going to be premium players or consistent players in that triple figure range. That's all you can do. That's all you can try and do is just maintain that scoring, especially in best 18. I think holding back at this point is a little bit too conservative.
Yeah.
But obviously, if that's what you want to do, I wholeheartedly support and encourage you. Any notes on that, Damo?
No, tactics are very, very fluid early this year with all the injuries around and all the rookies sort of coming from nowhere, essentially, names that we've not really heard of or spoken about. So just make sure your team is healthy for the long run and not just in the short term.
Yeah, I think as well, it's the thing that really scares me, and once again, I'm talking very personally from this one, the thing that really gives me the anxiety when I'm trying to pick these replacements is these people who have high averages, but they've got low amounts of data to support it. We don't even have real data to show differences in matchup other than we know West Coast are not great. Essendon are not great. Melbourne are giving up a lot of ball. Like, we have these kind of very general ideas of the trajectory of matchups, but it's still so early on to have so many important injuries that we haven't had long enough to go, oh, this guy's the guy. Like, this guy has X role unless they're the only person doing it. So, I don't know. We're in a tough spot, Neptim, so do as your heart pleases, but make sure that you're comfortable with your decisions. That's what we preach here.
Yep. No notes.
No notes. Traffic lights are back, Damo. Damo, you've been doing wonderful work on the traffic lights with some input from myself and Nate, in that we give you a nice big old thumbs up and pat on the back and say, Damo, you've done all the work without consulting us again, you little workhorse. Those are coming out every day, every week across our socials and on the website. Green is a good pick, yellow is a watcher, a hold, and red is a trade or a void. We assess everything going into that. Their job security, scoring potential, reliability, and injury status. There's a little blah blahs on them so that you know exactly what we're thinking. We drop them on a Thursday after teams, and then we update them on a Friday if anything significant changes once the Sunday teams are confirmed. Have you found them so far, Damo? I feel like we've had a good run so far.
Yeah, we've had a good run. Traffic lights are our most engaged with feature, so thank you to everyone that likes, shares, comments on them. But I need to stress to people that they need to read the player blurbs, because that explains why that player is featured in that week. I don't need a comment asking a question that is already explained in the actual feature. People were asking why I had Milan Murdoch before he was on the bubble, but with all the rookies that have come out of the woodwork, you needed to start your correcting early. And yes, he's injured now, and people who traded him in off that square will be angry, but now you have him. He will come straight back into the West Coast team. He will be okay. You will be okay. Just read the player blurbs before you start questioning who is in each square.
That's it. Also, make sure you head to our website and check out the captain's article from Nate. Nate's been putting those out on Tuesdays. Tuesdays, those get published every week, and they have our picks for captains this week. We haven't decided whether we're going to announce them on the podcast or not, because I do want people to go and read Nate's good work, but he gives you a lot of different options, a lot of juice to think about, not just what we're doing and not just related to our teams.
And apologies for those people reading on mobile. I know the article looks like a dog's breakfast.
We'll figure it out.
I will fix that. It will be fixed soon.
Damo, who's your captain and vice captain for this week?
I've gone for Luke Jackson in the Cyclone and Zach Butters on Sunday.
Very good. I'm going with Max Holmes into Harrison Sheezel so Max Holmes obviously playing against Adelaide without defenders, and Sheezel playing against Essendon without hope. Sorry, Essendon have no hope. North have a lot of hope, actually. Things are going well. Did you like Damo? Really like that one, guys. I've done well. I feel good about that. Boo! Cut that from the podcast. And that's it for this episode of the Footy Mailbag. Make sure if you haven't given us a rating or review on your platform, please do so, because it helps new listeners find us. If you've already done one, I think you can still do another. You can do more than one. I think they let you reset it every now and then. You can also find us at Footy Mailbag on X and Facebook, at the Footy Mailbag on Instagram. And also thefootymailbag.net is our website, where the beautiful article that I just spoke about before, and the traffic lights. There's big buttons right on the homepage as well for you to leave us a question and access those articles. Damo, where can people find you?
At DamoSC on Twitter or X. And yeah, I'm not going to tell you my Instagram. I don't use it. There's no point.
Add an underscore to that underscore? What is it? Anyway, Damo's not going to tell me. You can find me at QuantumJC on Twitter, or you can check out my other podcast, The Falcon, at Falcon Footy Pod, where my other Freo loving co-host absolutely got to slam one over me. My team capitulating a 7-goal to 1 quarter at the very start of the game and demoralizing me forever. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Love you. Be good.
Bye.